familiar names. For some of you, it might be the first of these sessions you've come to. So particularly warm welcome to you this morning or afternoon or evening, whatever time it is where you are. So we're looking where you are. So we're looking over the course of 5 days more deeply into the current cycle of the nature of mind. So we've had the interview with Paul Gilbert on the compassionate mind. We had a seminar on Friday last week, Andy and Kshantikara leading a seminar. And this week we put all of that into practice. So we draw themes from that particular exploration and we're putting them into practice, particularly with regard to loving kindness meditation, particularly with regard to the Metta bhavana. And I said yesterday that what we're exploring in the sessions is aspects of the Metta bhavana practice. I was remembering a story in the Pali Canon where the Buddha picks up a handful of sinsapa leaves from the forest floor, and he says to his followers, the disciples who are around him, compared to the leaves that are all over the forest floor, are the leaves in my hand few or are they many? Of course they say, well, the leaves in your hand are few compared to those on the forest floor. He says, well, so it is with my teaching. So the Dharma that he had given people, the teachings that he'd given people, compared to those that he could actually kind of see and experience, it was just a handful. And with the Metta bhavana, like I said yesterday, it's such a deep, profound practice that in 5 days, all we can really do is explore a handful of leaves from the tree of Metta bhavana, a various small collection of aspects, in the hope that they're giving us either tools to begin a practice, tools to refresh our practice, or just new angles. Even if we feel our Metta bhavana is going well, it just gives us a few new angles. So the aspects we're exploring over the course of the 5 days are what I called yesterday the essential aspects, the intensive aspects, and the profound aspects of Metta bhavana. So essential, intensive, and profound. So we're starting obviously with what's essential. So yesterday we did that. Today we're going to continue on that theme. So looking again at more of the essential aspects of Metta bhavana. I'll talk for a short while. We'll do a meditation, and again there'll be an opportunity for some questions. So we started yesterday by really stripping things back, really taking things down to what is essential, what is foundational for an effective Metta bhavana practice. And in doing that, I said, didn't I, that the difficulties people often face with the practice come from overthinking, overdoing, and expecting too much, or thinking too much, doing too much, expecting too much. I certainly fall into that trap fairly often. So I think it's always good to really strip things back, get down to essentials, and just remind ourselves what the essence of the practice is. So we did that yesterday by looking at a couple of definitions of metta or love. And in particular, I was talking about one of Sangharakshita's definitions of love that he gave in relation to listening to people, I believe. And that definition of love is that love is the awareness of the being of another person. So love is the awareness of the being of another person. So we explored awareness, dropping into a deeper awareness. That was the intention. So dropping in particularly to the body, the energy of the body. And what we were doing there was really, in a sense, putting mind in its place. So often what happens is that, I said yesterday, we tend to go off into mind and into what I described as disembodied thought worlds. So we kind of exit from the totality of our experience into these disembodied thought worlds. So the first thing to do is to really drop out of those and into something, into something more real, into something more whole, into, as I say, the totality of our experience. So mind is in there, our thinking mind is in there. It's very important, it's vital, it's amazing. but it has to find its place within the totality of our experience. So we're exploring the body and the other senses. So establishing awareness, and then obviously the definition takes us further. So it's love is the awareness of the being of another person. So an awareness of being, not just of other people, but of ourselves as well. So what is it to be aware of our being, of being alive? So we were exploring that aliveness in the course of our meditation. And everything, as I said yesterday, that alive, that rich, that vivid human experience, it's all emerging, if you like, with awareness or in awareness. And that awareness is, I suggested yesterday, that we explore that awareness as being innately kind, innately loving. So what we see is the more we can dwell in awareness, the more there's a kind of intimacy with our experience and what's happening. So we're trying to come into relationship with our experience, everything that's happening to us or unfolding in and through us. We're trying to come into relationship with that, with a kindly awareness. So if we can dwell in awareness, if we can tune in to our rich and vivid experience, we'll find that there's a kindness it's kind of naturally there, kind of innately there within our experience to be discovered. And I think it can be quite a relief to discover that, to drop into that. I think it was Jeremy who got here with me, said yesterday after the session that he just felt relieved to sort of approach things in that way. As I say, often we can overdo things in Metta bhavana, or we can try to do too much. So it can come of a relief when we realize that we don't have to do that. We're not trying to create metta out of nothing, out of thin air, and then kind of direct it everywhere, push it everywhere, which I'm not saying that approach doesn't have its benefits, so that there is some benefits, and I'll come on to talk a bit more about that later, to emphasizing volition. But at the same time, it can easily become a strain, particularly over a long period of time, over many months or whatever. There can be an element of strain that kicks in, or just repetition and a kind of mechanical approach. So just tuning into, or having the sense that what we're doing is tuning into metta, I think can be a relief for people, and in my experience, more helpful to a lot of people. I did wonder if it was similar to what Paul Gilbert talks about in his book and in his interview with Maitreya Bandhu, between what he describes as the drive system of the mind and the soothing system. So the drive system in our mind, as I understand it, and I'm not an expert here, but the drive system is to do with our ambition and desire to create something and make things happen. It's a good system to have. It's a good competency, but at the same time, we also need this kind of soothing system in the mind, this quality of being able to, I think he says, rest and digest. That goes back, obviously, to our ancestry, the ability just to be alive, just to rest in and sink into that awareness. Okay, so that's just a quick recap. So that's the ground that we were exploring yesterday, and we'll stick with that theme, really, of just exploring things in relation to ourselves. And as I said yesterday, that's not in contradiction to metta and loving kindness and that being expansive and going out to other people. It is the essential foundation. So hopefully this approach that we're exploring does have this element of relief, ease, relaxation. Having said that, I think there is still a place for a more active rather than a purely receptive approach to metta bhavana. So yes, if we overdo that, if we come in and we're too active and we're trying to force things, that can run us into difficulties. But at the same time, one thing I've noticed is that often people very strongly associate metta and loving kindness meditation with feeling. often at the expense of volition or will. So we can go to one extreme or the other, I think. We can either just go in and sort of mechanically go through the motions, or we can just associate metta purely with feeling, and usually positive feeling, which there's certainly an element of that in the practice. But if the practice just becomes about trying to find a positive feeling, and then we don't find it, and sometimes we might find negative emotion rather than positive emotion, it's easy then to jump to the conclusion that we're doing it wrong and we can't do it, and then we stop doing it. Similar to what Maitreya Bandhu describes in the interview there with Paul Gilbert. So we can overemphasize the feeling aspect of metta bhavana at the expense of other aspects. So what do we do with all that? There's some of the problems, aren't they? We can either go to the extreme of volition, kind of leaving feeling out and emotion out, or we can go to the extreme of metta just being feeling and sort of not having to do anything, which I think also misses an important dimension. If you remember, those of you who were with us yesterday, the definition of metta that I gave was that it comes from the root word meaning friendliness. So we do have that feeling aspect of friendliness, caring, well-wishing, but also Sangharakshita has described metta more as a kind of force. So there is a kind of active quality to metta. Metta is also an activity as much as a feeling. And we also said yesterday it's a rational emotion, so there's a rational component. It's appropriate to reality. So today, what I want to do is just try to pick apart those elements a little bit so that we have not just the receptive and open quality of metta in play, but also something a bit more active, bringing in volition, but doing that in such a way that doesn't make us fall into extremes. So personally, I've taken a lot of interest in this particular area, and I favour a kind of combined approach, something that includes feeling, noticing of feeling, but also bringing in an element of if you like, wishing, even desiring or aspiring. So we'll try to explore that kind of blended approach in our meditation this morning. I think in brief, the way that we'll do that, and don't worry too much about kind of remembering this because I'll lead through us in the meditation. I think what we'll do is we'll build on what we did yesterday. So yesterday, for those of you who are here, we came into awareness, very much becoming more and more sensitive to the totality of our experience, as I've said. And when we do that, what we're looking to do is really resonate with our aliveness, as I've said. So coming into an awareness of how alive we are, whatever we think about ourselves or feel about ourselves, if we can do that, we notice that we're quite amazing. Our just the tiny sensations that we can feel in our hands, that we can feel in our feet, the fact that we've got hands and feet, all those sensations, the fact that we can hear things, that we can see things, in most cases, that we've got thinking, the capacity to think, even if we're thinking about all kinds of nonsense sometimes. What an amazing capacity that is, that we can imagine. We're quite amazing creatures when we just stop and look. So we're coming into a sensitivity of that and really trying to resonate with the life that is unfolding in us and through us. So that's the first step. I think we can take that a little bit deeper today as well. So what we'll do is we'll explore, I guess one way of putting it would be what we truly and deeply desire. So when we look at that life unfolding in us and through us, what's it all about? Where's it all trying to go? What's it all trying to unfold into? And if we look at the Buddhist tradition, there's very much a strong emphasis on the deepest desire of the human being is to be happy and to be free from suffering. So if we look particularly at Mahayana texts, I'm thinking of Shantideva's Bodhicharyavatara, very clear that what all human beings are looking for is to be happy, is to be free from suffering. And ultimately, in a Buddhist context, the highest happiness, if you like, the ultimate freedom from all suffering, all restriction, all limitation, is to be found by pursuing the path to enlightenment and realizing enlightenment, awakening. So if we explore the depths of our heart, what we find is that kind of desire, that kind of movement, if you like, in our being. Obviously, it goes down all kind of weird side channels and even backwards, but at root, there's that kind of urge and desire deep within us. So we're going to try and tune into that a bit more closely, feel that a bit more fully. And in the feeling of that and the noticing of that, what we can do is we can strengthen our aspiration that that's the case. So those of you who've done the Metta Bhavana before and read the books, been taught the Metta Bhavana, you'll know about the phrases. So we have these phrases of well-wishing, wishing ourselves well, wishing ourselves to be happy and to be free from suffering. Often I think we can be a bit dismissive of the phrases, but personally I found them very powerful if they're done in the right way, if they're done within the right context. And that context is what we explored yesterday. It's the capacity to be able to drop into our embodied experience, the totality of our experience, tuning into the heart, its deepest desire. If we then bring in more of an aspirational, active quality, then that can really do something, I think. That can be very strong indeed, almost kind of mantra-like, just dropping something in and letting it ripple out. So that's the approach we'll take in meditation today. As I say, don't worry too much about remembering all that. You can refer back to things on YouTube if there's things that you've missed, or you can ask questions after the meditation. But the main thing is to explore all this in our experience. We could talk about it for a long, long time, but let's really explore it in the depths of our hearts, so to speak. Okay, so if you'd like to prepare for meditation, find your comfortable posture. Some of you might want to dim the screen. I'm not sure how dark it is where you are, but you might find dimming the screen helps just to remove some of the glare. You only need to hear my voice. We'll be sitting for about half an hour, 35 minutes. I'll guide us through the meditation. So obviously the intention is that one can meditate without guidance. And it might be that after this week and the input of this week, you want to create some space where you can just explore things in your own time and according to your own rhythm. It's really important that we are able to do that. But for now, just giving these tools, showing these leaves from the forest floor of Metta, I'll guide us through quite closely. Okay, so just settling into your posture. Closing the eyes or having the eyes half closed. And the first thing we'll do is nothing. Just giving ourselves space, not to have to do anything in particular. You don't even have to meditate yet. So just finding neutral gear. So it's quite important that we do this so that our meditation is not just one activity that follows on from others. Definitely making a shift to another way of being with ourselves, experiencing ourselves. So we'll start by deepening our awareness. So coming into an awareness of our bodies, our embodied experience, aware of the energy of the body or in the body that makes up the body. We can start high and drop awareness down through the body, so aware of the face, cheeks and jaw. So we're not thinking about our face, we're not visualizing our face, we're exploring the direct energetic sensations, bringing awareness to them, noticing areas of tension, holding. With awareness they can release, relax, soften. And in your own time, just allowing awareness and energy to move down through the body, from the head and the face, through the upper part of the body, noticing sensations, releasing tensions. So filling the lower part of the body now with awareness. Aware of all the sensations around the hips, buttocks, our contact with the cushion or seat. Aware of sensations in the legs, in the feet. So filling the lower half of the body with awareness, energy. We've got a stable base. Grounded, rooted. And breathing up now into the body. Breathing up from the ground, slightly below the body. So as we breathe in, energy moves up from the ground into the body, up into the area around the heart. And the upper part of the body is alert. Open. Allowing the spine to lengthen. The crown of the head. Face still soft. And allowing our awareness to rest now in the area around the heart. So the body's energetically balanced, stable and grounded, upright and alert. And at the center of our experience is this area around the heart. The heart center or the heart space. And from here we can open up to our other sense impressions. So noticing sounds all around us. Normally we associate sounds with the ear, coming through the ear, stopping somewhere around the head. Can we have a sense of these sounds being felt by the heart or heard by the heart space? It's as if the heart is listening. And aware of the other physical senses, things arising in our field of vision, even with the eyes closed. A sense of smell and taste. Our mental activity, so perceiving things as pleasant and unpleasant, disinterested. Seeing if we can have a sense of perceiving that with the heart. And the same with thoughts or images. As if they're arising and passing away within the heart space rather than the head. So all of these impressions, sense impressions, make up our experience of being alive, rich and vivid human experience. And all of it arising with awareness or in awareness. Unfolding within a field of awareness. And even if we drift off, we come back into awareness. It's always there. Stable, but also warm. So it reflects what's arising and unfolding. It's also intimate with what's unfolding. So just resting in this kindly awareness, it's non-judgmental, non-critical, kindly awareness. So just coming to rest again in the heart space, the heart center, resting our awareness there. And what we're going to do is drop in a question. And it's not a question that we're going to think about our answer to. We're looking for a heart response. So it could come in the form of a word or words, or in the form of images, or just a kind of feeling, a felt sense. It might be that nothing seems to happen or nothing seems to arise, and that's fine too. We're just going to drop a question into the heart space and see what happens. So with our awareness resting in the heart, asking the question, what's the heart's deepest wish? What does the heart yearn for? So checking that we're still grounded in the body. So something might have arisen, words, impressions, images, nothing. It's all fine. Just grounding again in the energy of the body. Resting in the heart space. Dwelling in the field of kindly awareness. And we'll ask the question for a second time. This time we might get a different response. So no expectations. What is the heart's deepest wish? What does the heart yearn for? So again, just checking that we're still grounded in the body. Resting in the heart space. And whatever's arisen for us in response to the question, whether it was a word or a series of words or images, feelings, not very much at all, it's all fine. What we probably find is that they're all variations of a deep desire to be happy and to be free from suffering. Somehow they represent those words, those images, desire for life to unfold within us and through us. So touching into that desire, feeling that desire more strongly, we can really resonate with that life unfolding in and through us. Life trying to realize its full potential in and through us. Just seeing if we can strengthen our aspiration that that's the case. So wishing that life can unfold in and through us. It might be that we use the traditional phrases. May I be well. May I be happy. May I be free from suffering. Just very lightly dropping them into the heart space. It might be that a single word has more power. Grow, unfold, flourish. So we're feeling and noticing our aliveness, the desire for life to unfold in and through us in a way that works for us, just strengthening the aspiration that that can happen. So whatever's arising as we do this, just coming into relationship to that with kindly awareness. Particularly if we experience distraction or boredom or tiredness, but also if we experience joy, sense of freedom. So grounded in the body, resting in the heart space, the open heart space. Just expanding our field of awareness again from there. So taking in physical, energetic sensations of the body, but also sounds and the other senses. And just noticing the aliveness that is all around us. We're surrounded by life in different forms. And engaging the imagination, aware that other people are around us. So you might be sat with other people. You might have other people in the same house or building, or in the street outside, or further away than that. And we can be aware of each other. So we're spread across the world doing this meditation, but we're all doing it together. So aware of the aliveness of each other. Of life unfolding in and through us all. But ultimately we're all seeking happiness and to be free of suffering. We can strengthen that aspiration, strengthening the desire that that's realized, whether by using a phrase or a word or a particular image. Maybe we can just feel it. So relaxing all effort now whatsoever. We're not finishing yet, but it's as if I've just rung the last bell. So again, just dropping into neutral gear. Nothing to do. And finally, just making the aspiration that any benefits that have come our way from doing the practice, we can share them with others that we'll meet or speak to today. And in your own time, bringing the meditation to a close. When you're ready, opening the eyes and beginning to move. So as we're just coming round from the meditation, Nick's posted the invitation for questions, so do feel free to write some questions, post some questions, and Nick will read them out to me. We've got about 25 minutes left, something like that, so there is some space to do this and to have a bit more discussion. I know some people need to leave early, especially if you're in a different time zone. Jack and Jeremy can ask questions. You might have to put your hands up so I know. I'll just say before we, while you're thinking of questions, or maybe just share a bit of my own experience of what we've done there with the dropping in of the question into the heart space and trying to discover the heart's wish, because I can appreciate if you've not done that before, it's quite an unusual thing to do. And I said that it's not that we're trying to think of an answer. That's our kind of default response, I think, is to sort of think, well, what is the heart's wish? But it's more like we're letting that drop in here, and what can come back can be quite unusual in a way. So I was doing the practice yesterday. I'm just exploring around, and the first time I asked the question, what came up was just somebody's face, the image of somebody that I know and find beautiful. So their face was just there in my mind. That's what my heart was kind of doing in response to that particular question. And then the second time, I don't know if I'd heard birdsong, but the image that came to mind, sort of more visually inclined, I think, the image that came to mind was of a blackbird in front of green foliage. And there's just something about the green colour and the greenness that seemed to be the response to that question, what does the heart truly desire? So it's strange, isn't it, the responses we get to that question, because it's not that literally that's what my heart yearns for, but there's something about those images, whether it's the person or whether it's the colour green or the, whatever kind of nature and trees and green leaves seems to evoke. There was something captured by both of those images that seemed to be speaking of my heart's deepest desire, so to speak. And as I say, all these things are related to what the Buddhist tradition would describe as our deepest desire to be happy and free from suffering. And ultimately that true happiness being complete liberation from all suffering and enlightenment. So there's something about those images that seem to capture that heart's deepest desire. But we're in that territory where we can't just take it literally. And if I went and sat in front of a green bush all day, I don't think it would make me happy. But there's something in that speaks to me of what can truly make one happy. There's something about tuning in and resonating really, as I say, with that kind of deeper sense of being alive and life trying to unfold in us and through us. And I think love and loving kindness is about being attentive and aware of that life trying to unfold and express itself, and to do what we can to allow that to happen, particularly in the form of other people and ourselves, of course. Okay, any questions coming in?
Yep, so Laura says, when I engage with this practice, as often it brings a field of kindly awareness into experience, it also highlights the absence of it in other areas of life, prompting grief. Any advice for working with this grief?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a similar question yesterday. I don't know if you were here, Laura, but somebody had said that when they touch into that loving awareness or the totality of their experience, when they try to meet that with kindly awareness, they're aware of all the bits that they usually leave out. And again, there's an experience that can come with that of kind of longing that all those parts are on board, or kind of sadness that there are parts of ourselves that we ignore. So I think in a way, doing metta bhavana, loving kindness meditation, it does need to come with a bit of a health warning, because I mean, I don't mean that too dramatically, but we do need to appreciate that when we start dipping into our emotional lives and bringing awareness and attention more to our emotional lives, that will stir up difficult emotions, like, for example, the grief that one might feel that on some occasions we ignore ourselves, or we're even unkind to ourselves, even unkind to other people. That the light will be shone upon that. If we try to cultivate loving kindness for ourselves and other people, which is an amazing thing to do, inevitably we'll see when we don't do that, because we're just bringing our emotional lives, in our ethical lives, more and more fully into focus. So in a way, I think that's quite common, what you're describing, and not to be not to feel that that's wrong or that that's bad. I suppose that in terms of working with it, if you want to carry on cultivating loving kindness, and we are going to experience difficult emotions as well, in a sense, it's giving us more material to work with in the practice, isn't it? We've got an actual live experience to actually apply the practice to, if you see what I mean. So it's not just a theoretical cultivation of loving kindness. It's when we get the difficult experience that comes with the attempt to do that, we just have to expand the practice then to include that as well. I think we often miss that. It's like we try to cultivate loving kindness, a difficulty arises, and we feel that we're not doing it right, or that we can't do it. But in actual fact, the difficulty is in a sense, it's an opportunity and an invitation to take the next step. So the next step would be, okay, I'm trying to cultivate loving kindness. I've got this image of a friend, but actually difficult emotion is coming up. So can we just expand our practice of loving kindness to also include that? And in theory, that expansion has no boundary. So even if we're experiencing, say, the grief of feeling like often we don't feel love, or we ignore ourselves or whatever, can we just expand our practice to include that? But I appreciate it's not easy to do. I think one thing that really helps with that is to be in regular contact and communication with other people who are doing the practice, because it is quite an undertaking. We need to be able to talk these things through with people. So I know a lot of you are all part of a Buddhist Sangha already. So if you are, just getting to closer communication with somebody else about it. Some of you might know each other. You could hook up in the week and talk about how the practice is going in the course of the week. If you're not in that situation, if you don't have other meditators that you're in communication with, it'd be really good if you could seek out some people who you can share your exploration with. I think that's really, really important, actually. So do that. We can learn so much from watching videos on YouTube, if that's what you're doing, watching this now. We can learn so much from Zoom and books and all the rest of it, but I think ultimately what we need is human contact and communication about our meditation practice and how it's going. Anything else, Nick?
So there's nothing else in the chat at the moment in terms of questions. There's lots of people saying thank you, though.
Okay.
Gina's commented actually saying that I love the invitation to listen from the heart, and I appreciated the question of what the heart longed for.
Yeah, I think I said in the meditation, didn't I, that often, say, our sense experience, it all seems to be coming in here, doesn't it? Our ears are here, our nose, our tongue. So often and even our thoughts seem to be happening up here, don't they? But I think we can actually experience that deeper, further down. So I think it's good just to explore that. Can we dwell more fully in this kind of area around the heart? It's obviously not the physical heart that I'm talking about, but what we might call the heart center or the heart space. Can we actually experience life more from here rather than up here. And I think if we do that, it does have quite a strong effect. I notice myself in the meditation, more absorption seems to arise if I'm more dwelling, or more able to dwell in this area around the heart, and it's as if the heart is listening, the heart is tasting, touching, thinking even. It just does something. It sort of undermines my usual view that everything's actually going on up here, which I don't think is true actually. So yeah, good thing to play around with and explore and experiment with. Any questions in the room? Jack and Jeremy? I like that your names both begin with J. It's like your comic book characters or something. Jack and Jeremy's Adventures in Metta Bhavana. Don't feel under pressure to devise a question. I mean, no questions is a good thing in a way. You can take the exploration deeper, can't you? If you've got there's nothing to clarify about what I've said, well, you can just go away and keep practicing it. So just keep exploring those themes in meditation. One thing I will add that I didn't bring into the meditation, but I was exploring yesterday, which might be of use to some people, is bringing in the breath more to that particular way of approaching things. So particularly with the sense of aliveness, it's like when we breathe in, we can become more aware of life, let's say, of the aliveness and vividness of our experience. And in breathing out, that's when we could bring in something of the aspiration. So breathing in an awareness of that life that's unfolding, and as we breathe out, just having the aspiration that is able to happen, that is able to unfold more and more fully. I did mean to drop that into the meditation. It didn't sort of happen for me as we were doing it, so it didn't come out. But that might be something to play with. Don't get too tight and closed around that, though. Don't get too one-pointed and focused on the breath, but lightly, just as we did with the phrases or images, just lightly bringing a touch of that in might be of some use. Okay, so I don't think we've got more questions coming in. So we can maybe have an early finish this morning. Tomorrow we'll move on from the essentials, or we'll build upon the essentials that we've explored yesterday and today, and we'll start to look at more intensive aspects of Metta Bhavana practice. We'll start to bring in the other stages of the practice where we bring particular people to mind. How do we work with that? How do we work particularly with resistances that might arise? Paul Gilbert says in his interview with Maitreya Bandhu that resistances are wisdoms. So in looking in more detail at these latter stages of the practice, we start to touch into the area of wisdom. So hope to see all of you here Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, or at least some of you. I'll certainly be here, and looking forward to the further exploration. And Nick will be here too. So thank you to Nick for all his hard work behind the scenes, for making it possible for us to do this each morning. Okay, so we'll finish there, and Nick can unmute us and we can say goodbye to each other, and have a lovely day or evening, wherever you are.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Padmasagara.
Bye.
Have a lovely